Welcome to Market Buzz. I'm Greg Schnell, the Canadian technician and host of the Market Buzz. Each show, we do a deep dive into different industries using weekly charts to see what is happening on a long timeline. Please follow me on Twitter at Schnell Investor, and you can also find my blogs on OspreyStrategic.org as well as StockCharts.com. So, is it time for a holiday? That's what we're going to cover off today. Lots of these vacation stocks look good. The hotels are starting to turn up. The cruise ships have been going gangbusters for a couple of weeks now. We're seeing some price action in the gaming stocks, recreational services and recreational products. So all of it's starting to percolate. A lot of these are in the XLY, the consumer discretionary group. And so we'll be covering off some of that. But there's names like Disney, as an example, that's over in communication services under entertainment. So mixed. One of the things you'll find is the sectors kind of get mixed up here a little bit with some of the names depending on what their strengths are. So that's what we're going to cover off today. We're going to go through the current market and discuss lots of opportunity in travel and vacation stocks, and hopefully you'll find some ideas there. And if you like the work we do, you're welcome to come on over to OspreyStrategic.org and take advantage of our 1-month trial offer for just $7 or a 1-year membership for just $8.60, and go check it out, see if there's anything there for you. So let's start off with the indexes, S&P 500 on the left and the NASDAQ on the right. And so what you see is from the 24th of May, it's been pretty much a straight road higher. Big names like Tesla have really moved up sharply and helped that out. The NASDAQ was kind of sideways for the last 2 weeks roughly, and then started off Monday with a nice surge, Tuesday with a sideways move. So we're starting to get a little bit of divergence on the momentum indicator, but if this just kept going, it would be fine. My strength indexes are still showing very strong participation, so they're not weakening at all yet. And the S&P 500, that's just a beautiful move higher. So, until something changes, these charts are probably looking good. So then let's go look at IWM and DIA, which is the Russell 2000 on the left and the Dow 30 on the right. And again, you can see a gentle climb here, and the IWM working its way higher here, still in the range of where it was last week. We'll see if it can kind of pop up to the upside. Chart still looks good. The Dow is trying to break out to new, I'll call it 2023 highs, but it's actually the December of 2022 that it's trying to get through. And we're seeing big moves in names like Boeing and Caterpillar, and lots of the other Dow components. So if we, I have a chart list just set up for the Dow 30, and we can kind of quickly just take a look at those. View all, we'll go to summary mode, and just, what we're seeing here over the last week, most of them are pretty positive, so it's pretty hard to doubt them. They were a bit flat, but that's pretty strong look. And as you can see, Intl, Caterpillar, Boeing, 3M even is coming off the floor. It's been beaten down. So that would be nice to see it start to turn. IBM starting to turn higher. Walmart breaking out. So still some great names there. And again, looking at that list of 30 stocks, almost all of them are green. CRM and Visa were the only two red ones. Oh, Merck, I guess, slightly red. So with that, those charts all look good as well. Now, getting back to just point out the Canadian market here, dollar TSX. One of the things that we're seeing on the Canadian side is the chart doesn't look anywhere near as rosy. So it's quite a different environment, even though we're all in the same continent. Seeing a dramatic underperformance by the TSX compared to the S&P 500, and as long as that continues, that probably means money's not going to go there. So it's going to take a little bit of a snowstorm here to try and push this higher. It just hasn't been able to get going. So to cover it off, the one thing that was better off, let's just look at a couple of these sectors here. I mentioned the XLY and the XLC earlier in the discussion about travel stocks and Disney. And you can just see, again, both of these are still performing pretty well. The charts are straight up and to the right. Big dramatic move here on the XLY, and that's the weighting in Tesla is helping that quite dramatically, but there's a whole bunch of areas that are starting to perk up, and that's why we're going to talk about that specifically today. So I'm going to start off in airlines, which are not in either one of those. They're in the XLI. Let's just go there. And the point I want to make here, roughly 2 weeks ago, around the 31st, things bottomed out, and so for the month of June, it's literally been straight up. And you can just see we're starting to break out above the prior highs, so that looks pretty good. Now, when we add the airline names, and I'm just going to use the index beside it, what you see here, the charts look pretty similar, but the airlines have literally made this dramatic move, and this is pretty strong, right? 152 to 172, so it's a nice move. But what I think is more important is this picture. We're breaking this big 2-year downtrend on the airlines first time this week, and the industrials are starting to break out to the top side. So this looks a little bit like a head and shoulders here. So the industrials look great. This whole area, and I covered these off recently, the industrials off recently, and we talked about the transport specifically on the newsletter on the weekend. So everything's starting to rise up here. But again, what I like is when you break this downtrend on here, this is a big long downtrend, and we're just starting to shoot above it. So that looks pretty bullish to me. Really nice trend here, and you got your PPO turning up above zero. So what's not to like? Anyway, all of these things you can see it's been down since September. Pretty much a brief glimpse here in February, March, but now it looks like it wants to start to turn and burn higher. So that's one of the reasons that I think the airlines are a pretty important place to be looking right now. And we're going to cover off some other ways to see that on the charts and tables. So with that, so I've got the airlines all set up here. I've added 3 Canadian names down at the bottom, so that's why they're not called the airlines area. But again, what you want to do is be able to sort these by the strongest stocks first. So I've put some numbers on the front of these. I'm going to take those numbers off right now. So we would go to the edit mode, and we would just select all, and we're going to remove the numbers from this. And again, you want to set it up so you can remove these numbers whenever you want to, and then you're just going to go back into summary mode and pick an order to sort by, and you could do it by closing price, or you could do it by scooter ranking. Scooter ranking tends to put the strongest stocks first, and I think that's a pretty helpful one. So that's the way I like to do it. And then in order to get these numbers put on the front here, we're going to scoot to the bottom of the page. We're going to go number in sorted order, and now it's going to take all of these charts and add the numbers to it. And so once you do that, now we're going to go into the chart. So in this case, I've got the chart set up for 2-year time frame, but we could do longer as an example. One of the things I do want to show you is if you want to get the shading of the monthly instead, if you add months to this chart and you're I think it's less than 2 years, you'll get the dark light shading for the monthly. But if you just pick 2 years as an example, then you'll just have the annual shading. So light, then dark, then light. I'm just trying to help you with settings here, trying to show you the difference. Now, you can see this chart, the PPO stayed below zero all the way till we got over here to mid-May, and it started to ramp up here, but it's already been a beautiful move from really $3.25 to $5. So it's a pretty heady move, $1.75 on 325, almost a 50% gain in a few weeks. So that's been nice. Now let's just extend this, and I'm going to do this just to show you how to do it. But we're going to move it out to 3 years, and then from the 3-year time frame, we're going to go to the bottom and say apply style to all. And COVID seems so real in all our recent memory, but it's a long time ago on the charts already. a 3-year doesn't show the COVID drop. So with that, you've got this price breakout, and it's really starting to work. The scooter ranking starting to turn up to the top here and get all set up near the highs. So that looks pretty nice. Again, I've got the line at 75%. And the idea being, when you're in the bottom 25%, you're in the worst. You're in an absolute, there's no support for the stock and it can just hang down there. And then when you get between 25 and 75, you're roughly in line with the S&P 500 or with its peer group, and you're just going to kind of move sideways. But when you can go and get back up into that top shelf, that's a pretty nice place to get on board. And it could stay up here for a week or a month or 3 months or 6 months. Tesla had, I think it was an 18-month period where it stayed up there. So you can get these really long runs in these stocks. So with that, we've got all the conditions that are right here. And this is just one example of an airline. Now, this is Air Transat in Canada. It's kind of like a vacation airline. But when we go here now, let's just go on to view all, and I'm not going to annotate all the charts, but again, what we're looking for is a broken trend. We're starting to turn up on the right-hand side and see if anything's going on here. So here's Skywest, and a big downtrend and started to run up. And this is, again, really started to get through $21 here in March, and it's been a pretty nice trade, straight up to 36. So really well done. Air Canada just starting to move, and again, if we were to draw a line, kind of this bump in here kind of messed up the downtrend line. But now I think you're just looking at any sort of breakout above 24 is going to get you into positive territory. And based on looking at their airfares, they should be just fine. Mesa Air Group. So what you see, and I like this chart for a couple of reasons. One is defined downtrend. Look at how weak the full stochastic was. Stayed below 50% for the whole time. Pulls back down, now just starting to turn back up here. And again, this could run back up to whatever, it's $2. It was at $4 just 8 weeks ago. Could run up here and, perhaps even get somewhere up in the middle of this. A pretty nice picture, and the chart, again, is starting to turn. So I like the fact that it had a thrust, pulled back, and looks like it wants to start get going again. That could be really helpful. Now here's Ryanair. Obviously, I think if you've ever been to Europe, you'll have found them in the pricing category of low fares. And then, they have a lot of add-ons if you want to carry a suitcase. They were in the news for a long time about even starting to charge for bathroom. So it's quite an interesting pricing models that they've got. And again, chart looks really strong here, up around 110, still continuing higher. Look at the scooter ranking, ticked up there the first of the year and just continues to be up there. Went sideways for 3 months and then started to accelerate in the month of May. I don't even know how to pronounce this, Linhas. Anyway, you can see a big downtrend starting to break. You got your moving average crossover. That stock's starting to turn up. Here's Delta Airlines breaking the big giant trend line. So that looks pretty nice. Another one I don't know how to pronounce, Controladora, Vuela. Charts moving. Look at the scooter ranking, pushing up here, showing it's one of the best performing stocks, and it's in the small cap group. COPA Holdings, so this one's been on fire. It broke out to new highs here in May and just continues to work its way up. United Continental, again, we're still up here in the stocks, all above this 75% line. We've covered off quite a few stocks already, and we're already, we're still holding up. We're right around 90%, meaning the stock is behaving better than 90% of its peers, and the price group would be the large cap stocks. So pretty big move here, and you can see it's starting to accelerate. We're 2 days into the week, and United's up 5.5%. I'm on a trip with them, and they've changed me from 3 airports to 4, so I'm not that happy with them. But anyway, it's not affecting their stock price. Allegiant Travel, again, trying to break out to new highs here. Looks like it's ready to kind of get set to surge. This company reminds me of Air Transat, the one that we started with. But to me, it looks like it's ready to go, and it can go on pretty nice runs here. This was 100 to 270. Here's 120 to 270. So that's a pretty nice gain there. It had going on for part of a year. It's just breaking out now, so that looks nice. International Consolidated Airlines Group. Don't know anything about them, but again, you've got this push up, pull back, and looks like it wants to get ready to take off again. Air France KLM sideways, nothing really going on there, but starting to turn up. American Airlines just getting the push in the last couple of weeks. It's up 4.75% this week. Again, that big giant trend line in this case. Let's just go annotate the chart. Grab a dotted line, drop it on here. It's just starting to break out. That looks beautiful to me. Alaska Air, same thing. The one thing, Alaska Air, when you look at this chart, we're right at the trend line. Based on all the other ones above it, I expect it to break out. Scooter ranking's right around 75%, so it could be the next one to get thrust up into that higher echelon. And again, out of Seattle, there's more than enough companies with money to fly you around there. Lufthansa, pull back here, if it starts to turn back up, that's pretty bullish. JetBlue, same idea. This chart's just getting above its 10-week and 40-week moving average here, after consolidating sideways for 3 months. So it looks like you're just starting the surge again, following the rest of the airlines higher. I don't know how much of a move, but we could, I could draw trend lines on these all day. They look pretty nice. Japan Airlines, lots of the Japanese stocks are turning higher. If you're not aware of the Japanese index, it's absolutely on fire. So here's the Japanese index literally taken off, and it's on launch mode since Warren started to put money into work there. So I'm actually surprised that this Japan Airlines hadn't really started to move. Probably next. Now, Hawaiian Holdings, historically, this has been a pretty good chart. It moved from 12 to 31 back here. Came all the way back down to 7 and is just starting to turn up. So, that looks pretty good. I just had my brother-in-law was in Hawaii just a few weeks ago. So said everything looks good over there. LATAM Airlines, again, too hard to look at this stock, 25 cents. We'll just leave it alone. Southwest Air, big downtrend. It's ready to break it. Again, $64 down to $28. Wasn't getting the love, the LUV, but looks like it's ready to start perking up, and this PPO is just giving you a buy signal. Chorus Aviation and other Canadian transport not doing so well. And again, your scooter ranking now, we're down at the bottom of the list. So do you really want to kind of look down here when you could look for stronger ones? You may or may not, but I would just say the stronger ones are up at the top. Okay, so the airlines look good. It looks like lots of people are going to start to travel. So let's go over to travel and tourism and look in there. And again, this one we're going to do a little bit differently. I'm going to take off the numbers off the front and remove them. Now, what I want to do, I've got multiple industries in here, and so I've set it. I go to the summary, and now what you can see, if we just sort on scooter ranking, we got restaurants and recreational services, gambling, travel and tourism, like it's all mixed up. And so one of the hard parts here is if you're trying to find some themes, it's a little bit difficult. Now, I will say here's Royal Caribbean Cruises in recreational services. Here's Norwegian Cruise Lines, Carnival PLC. So I think this one's the UK version, and there's the US version. So you've got these big cruise ships all up near the top of the rankings, and they can stay up there for a while. But the problem is it's kind of all mixed up. So one of the ways to control that, you're allowed to sort by multiple things. So as an example, we could click on close, and then we could click on scooter ranking, and then we could click on industry. And what's that going to do for us? Well, what it will do is it will put the strongest stocks in each industry group at the top of the list. So here's gambling. Trying to find the end of it. So here's gambling, and you go from 98.7, and there's only 4 or 5 here that are above 6, I guess, above 75%. A couple that are close, but the group is evenly split. I'll call it above and below that 75% line. It's still okay, but then when we go down here to hotels, we've only got one above the 75%, 2, I guess this one's sitting right on 75, and then the rest are a little bit lower. But when we get into recreational products, these things are absolutely starting to soar. And here's Winnebago and Thor Industries. These charts are looking pretty strong here as they're starting to pop. So the charts are starting to move, and this whole area seems like it's ready to pick up again. All of this is in XLY as an industry group. So when we saw the XLY chart accelerating, it's not just Tesla. There's a lot of names, and the autos. There's a lot of names here that are starting to move. So, you'll find names in here. So here's Cushnet Holdings and Callaway. Golf seems so crazy. I'm shocked this isn't a 99 percenter. I think drivers are $800 now. So these numbers are pretty big, but now we're back into these recreational services. And again, here's the list, roughly, let's say 20 long. And a good half the list is above the 75 level. So that looks pretty good to me. A relatively nice chart area. Now we haven't sorted, we've sorted it this way, but if we were to go look at it right now without adding the numbers to the front of this, it would get all mixed up. So the only thing I would say to do is take this list when you get it like this and start to mark down, once we add the numbers, we're going to mark down the numbers, and that will help us just kind of scan through by industry group, and then we can go see what's going on. So I'm going to scroll up to the top, and we're just going to, we're in the summary group, so we're in scooter ranking industry, right? So that it's broken out in that order. I'm going to go all the way to the bottom and click on number in sorted order. And now what I want to do is take a quick look. So I'm just going to leave all these together as a group, but then hotels are roughly at 280. And then recreational products are at 430, and recreational services are in here, and they're at 690. And then next one here is at 890, and then scrolling down, that's a big group. Here's a bunch of the travel and tourism, and only 4 or 5 here are up at the top in the actual bookings and all that kind of stuff. So that group doesn't look as strong to me, but still, let's look where they are. So they're at 1350. Okay, so now that we've got that defined, let's just jump in and grab a chart. And I've got this set up right now on this one as 3-year. I've taken the grid off the background. That's just a toggle that you can do here any way you'd like it. So I've taken it off just to clean it up. But this chart's really nice. You can just see it's above its 200 or its 40-week moving average. It's below it. Comes down here, it starts to move above it. That's just a really good place. And then you've got the scooter ranking just starting to break out. The chart looks great. I mean, it was $5 or call it $6 early May, and it's already up to 10. So pretty nice little rise in that move. Anyway, what we're going to do now is we're going to go look in chart list view, and that's going to start us with the order. Now, the idea behind doing that separation or writing down the numbers of the different groups is we can look at a few charts. And again, here's International Game Tech. This one's just starting to break out to new highs here. It looks like it's ready to percolate up quite nicely. You've got the Greek Organization of Football Prognosticators. That one's just too funny. But the chart is definitely heading higher, albeit slowly, and it's kind of a wide-ranging week every week, but very overlapping. MGM Resorts International. So it's under gambling, not hotels. But you can see here, really consolidating sideways, but starting to turn up this week, up 7% to start the week. And again, a lot of these gaming names are starting to turn up. Here's Inspired Entertainment, sideways for 2 years. You'd be looking for a break above the prior highs to get involved. Las Vegas Sands, sideways since the beginning of the year. We want to see that start to turn up. And Golden Entertainment, again, just sideways. So let's just say we're past the area we want to see. So the scooter rankings are starting to drop below 73. Now what we can do is, on a Mac, it's Command F, and that allows you to search for something. And I think on a Windows device, it's probably Control. And so we can go 430. That takes us to this Candy Technologies, and just turn that off. And you could just see this chart starting to run here. Again, scooter ranking doing really, really strong. So this is in recreational products. Marine products really starting to push up again. A lot of these are starting to break out in April. Here's one that's just broken out in the last 2 weeks. LCI Industries, I'd have to go Google what they do. And then Camping World Holdings, this one's broken its downtrend and starting to move higher, back above its 40-week moving average and starting to try and trend higher. Escalade, I like this. Again, push up, pull back, and it looks like it wants to start to revert higher. I'd have to check and see what caused that big downtrend. One Water Marine, again, downtrend breaking, just starting to break out. So all of these charts are looking nice. I think you'll agree. Winnebago, horizontal support resistance looks like it could go through that pretty easily. Here's Thor Industries turning up to the upside. So lots of these are just starting to break out now. So I think that's why I was covering it off this week. They look like they're ready to go. Now the next group was at 690, so we could either keep scrolling or I could just type 690 up here. And whoops, 0690, and that'll jump us down there. And so here's Carnival, and you can just see these were big downtrends, and they're just starting to turn. But look at the moves, up 17% this week. And then Royal Caribbean's up 5%. It's going to go through to new highs here. Prior high was 99.24. We're parked at 95.80. So maybe even this week we'll start to see that perk up. Now here's Carnival PLC. This one's up 18%, just shooting up. And Norwegian Cruise Lines, this one's up 13%. So if you get the idea, these cruise ships are taking off. I think they are. Talked to another person who had been on the cruise around Hawaii, and you hear a lot of Caribbean cruises, but this is just circling around the Hawaiian Islands. So that sounded nice too. Anyway, looking at these as you're going forward, there's a lot of good names in here. And Manchester United, apparently the Saudis are going to buy that one, I think, if I heard right today. And then Six Flags Entertainment Corp. Trying to get going. So I kind of thought Disney would be in this group. And this is under recreational services. But Disney is here under communication services and entertainment. And this chart has clearly not been able to start percolating higher. And, maybe it'll, Bob Iger can come back with some new ideas and get that stock going again. But when we're looking at these, hopefully it gives you an idea of a way to keep looking at the top stocks. And this WWE, this thing has been working its way higher. It hasn't been that easy to trade. This is 93 to 70. 79, 110 and back, but it's stair-stepping higher. And look at the scooter ranking. It's been up here for more than a year. Chart looks nice, but it's not moving as fast as, say, the cruise ships are right now. Anyway, hopefully that gives you an idea of how to go define a group. So in this case, I put a whole bunch of travel and leisure stocks together, hotels and recreational products and services, and got them all in one place. Now, airlines I've got in a separate area, but I could have moved that in here too. But the whole idea is when you start to see this big theme start to arrive, you can go and look and divide it out and then try to find the strongest stocks within the group. So I'm going to get rid of this header. I'm going to move to the top of the page. And again, we're going into summary view here. And you can change this to 1 week or 1 month and just say, what's moving. And, it's these cruise ships that are just starting to get on fire. Here's Peloton, finally starting to get a heartbeat off the lows, but it's one of the best performers over the last month, so that's pretty big. So with that, thanks for taking the time to join me on Market Buzz. Market Buzz airs Wednesdays at 10:30 a.m. Eastern Time on Stock Charts TV, but you can also see the recording on Stock Charts TV YouTube page. Thanks, everybody, for taking the time to join me. Have a good week. Bye-bye.